Welcome back to this very special episode of CNBC-TV18 and Qualcomm present the 5G opportunity. As 5G takes center stage, the new 5G network architecture and broader spectrum promise enhanced broadband services at a scale which was not possible with the previous generations. Many developing economies as well as parts of developed economies still suffer from a digital divide, with many unable to access broadband connectivity. So the question is, how will 5G technology help India narrow this digital divide? To discuss this and much more, we are joined by an esteemed panel of guests. We have with us Neil Shah, Vice President Research, Counterpoint Research, Mahendra Nahata, MD HFCL, TV Ramchandran, President Broadband India Forum, Mr. Manoj Gurnani, Chief Technology Officer and Head of Strategy at Nokia India, and Ms. Vanita Kumar, Senior VP Software Engineering at Qualcomm. Thank you very much for joining us. So let's get started. Mr. Ramchandran, my first question is to you. 2/3 of Indians still live in rural areas where access to a cable-based network or a fixed Wi-Fi looks difficult. In terms of the current broadband situation in India, can you share some light on the digital divide that currently exists in our country?
Thank you, Rima. That's a very good question. In fact, what we try to keep pointing out always is that we should not be over-complacent on the fact that we already have nearly 800 million broadband connections as per the reports. These are connections, not unique users. And our guess is the unique users are just about 500 million. So we have a long way to go to make broadband available for all, and that's the highest goal of the government, to go for broadband for all. And Broadband India Forum is fully committed to that.
So Vanita, in that context, since we are talking about the future of broadband for all, why is fixed wireless access, or FWA, considered to be the future of broadband?
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. As you know, in many countries like Africa, India, and many South Asian countries, we have pretty low fiber penetration. And since 5G FWA is all wireless and not needing any cable infrastructure, there is a lot more potential for strong subscriber growth in these countries. Based on actually economic study conducted by GSMAI, FWA is actually cheaper for operators to deploy compared to even conventional fiber, while still providing fiber-like speeds. So these savings obviously trickle down to the customers, making it a great opportunity for bridging the digital divide that exists in many of these countries and in rural areas.
Okay, so deployment is certainly an advantage where FWA is concerned. Neil, coming to you, 5G fixed wireless access has become a serious contender to fiber. Can you talk about its capacity, cost and performance to understand why and how 5G FWA is gaining momentum?
5G FWA as one of the technologies which will complement fiber to bring broadband to the masses. And in terms of comparison, most of if you look at the 5G architecture, it's a function of more flat, all IP, cloud-based architecture, plus multitude of spectrum from low band 700 megahertz to higher millimeter wave technologies, millimeter wave spectrum. The combination of all these together with a more refined architecture and deployment strategy, whether it's a dense strategy or it's a spread out strategy, that will determine the overall capacity, broadband throughput, and efficiency of the 5G FWA network.
So we will see a combination of low band and high millimeter wave frequency deployed to take broadband to the length and breadth of the country. Mr. Nahata, your thoughts. What are the key aspects that we need to know about the transformative FWA market?
Many areas where, even in the urban areas, you cannot reach with fiber because of geographical issues or congestion issues. Or maybe because the demand of FTTH is not so high, so you need a lot less high-speed broadband connection. There, FWA would be used quite a lot. Maybe in rural areas also, for critical applications like some hospitals or education where the 5G infrastructure is existing, you would be using FWA. So it ends digital divide also to a great extent.
Manoj, coming to you. What are the 5G features and capabilities which will elevate FWA in the 5G radio access network and core networks?
Okay, yeah. So thanks and hello everyone. Now, for a same amount of spectrum, if 4G was supporting a cell capacity of say 20 Mbps or thereabouts, I think what 5G does is actually really shoots the network capacity, a cell capacity, to as high as 600 Mbps or 800 Mbps if you're talking about a C-band, all the way up to 2 Gbps kind of cell capacities when you're talking about millimeter wave. So I think that's what 5G does. If you want to boost the capacities even further, then I think the technology gives you the option of using massive MIMO kind of technologies. Then you have the glorious antenna technologies like the beamforming. So that's what actually FWA does.
Thanks, Manoj, for that quick snapshot outlining the capabilities of 5G FWA. Mr. Ramchandran, home broadband usage has skyrocketed over the past couple of years, especially post the COVID-19 crisis. What were some of the challenges people face, and how do you think a 5G FWA would address those challenges?
See, in the fact that one might say, some experts keep saying that, look, like Mark Twain would say, that fixed is fixed and wireless is wireless, mobile is mobile, never the twain shall meet. That's wrong. Today, with the availability of 5G wireless, fixed wireless, there is a biomedia, an in-between solution which takes the best characteristics of fixed and of mobile and marries them for the benefit of the end user. And without the big hassle of digging, wires, getting right-of-way clearances, which is a hassle in every country, in every zone, not only India. So the question is to roll out easily and expeditiously, and that's possible with fixed wireless.
So it's taking the best of both, right? Fixed and mobile, and marrying them to benefit the end user. Vanita, my next question is to you. How can one leverage the potential of 5G millimeter wave in combination with the established solutions like FWA?
So that's an excellent question, Rima. So let's look at what 5G millimeter wave is, right? It's a high bandwidth spectrum. So we are talking about 400 to 800 megahertz of spectrum and very low latency as well. So with that, we are talking about like 10x improvement in capacity and several gigabits per second of internet speed. So used in an FWA, it can offer high-speed internet connectivity wirelessly and thus be a very good solution for meeting the increasing global demand for high-quality connectivity, while also enabling so many exciting new applications because of the low latency and the high speed combination.
And Qualcomm is coming out with a host of innovations on that front. Mr. Nahata, my next question for you is, connecting consumers requires more than connectivity. What are some of the areas that you see FWA and millimeter wave are being used together to elevate consumer experience?
So in India, millimeter wave as well as midband, I know that both are going to be used for FWA. Operators are looking at both of them. Now, consumer needs, when you use 5G, it's a broadband system. It's an enhanced broadband system on mobile as well as on fixed wireless. Now, for example, if you have an industry 4.0 kind of a situation where you need without non-latency communication between machine to machine, you're using 5G as a technology. You will have FWA coming into your premises, and then FWA further would be 5G signals would be distributed within the factory premises by either indoor small cell. Mostly the indoor small cell would be used to distribute that signal within the premises, and you would have an industry 4.0 application.
So FWA certainly can be a game changer as far as industry 4.0 and enterprises are concerned. Neil, you started off this conversation by talking about how FWA can help in narrowing India's digital divide and address the common connectivity challenges. Could you elaborate a little bit more in terms of the use cases, the role FWA can play to make sure that India's 5G development is more inclusive?
I think connecting to internet is the first, with high capacity and high broadband speed. Second, I would say 5G also promises, depending on the spectrum usage, if it's millimeter wave, you will have a higher capacity, higher throughput, but also lower latencies. So based on low latencies, it unlocks a lot of different applications for consumers as well as enterprises. For consumers, it could be high-speed gaming, more interactive internet, interactive applications via internet. The upload speeds also improve. So if you are doing a live streaming, if you're doing video calling, a high resolution video calling like 4K, you're giving an interview sitting somewhere in a remote village for a company in an urban area, you can do that flawlessly. So all those use cases are not possible right now. But with 5G FWA, once high-speed broadband reaches the masses, even in rural areas, I think the sky is the limit in terms of number of use cases which it can unlock.
Manoj, just adding to what Mr. Nahata and Neil were just sharing on the real-world impact of 5G FWA, I would like you to talk a little bit more about the opportunities that you see unveiling.
Yeah, sure. So let me start with consumer first. So, when you talk about the consumer, you have latency-specific applications like gaming, and mind you, gaming is big. Then you can talk about distance education. We all knew that during the COVID times, 2 years, I think we were all saved. We could save almost 2 years of the kids' education thanks to the connectivity which we had. And most of these applications are very latency specific. So that's on the consumer side, gaming and distance education. If you move to the enterprise side, we talk about, like Mr. Nata said, these are industry automation kind of use cases, the hospitals. I would even go to an extent of going to agriculture side. There are some glorious applications and the use cases. For example, the crop inspection, how to ensure that we do the weather forecast properly. All these use cases ensure that 5G is used to the optimum.
Got that. So from gaming to education to agriculture, lots of use cases there. Vanitha, when talking about scale and user density, a slightly technical question, if I may. What would be the key distinctions between sub-6 gigahertz, like between 3.5 gigahertz and the millimeter wave 26 gigahertz spectrum?
So millimeter wave spectrum, like I said, offers like 10x capacity, which means it'll deliver broadband-like speeds for each user, which is great for covering areas with very high population density, like, airports and malls or stadiums. So hybrid fiber wireless networks with millimeter wave components are being used extensively in delivering this last mile access to the enterprise, office buildings, multiple dwelling units, even single family homes. And beyond access, these networks are being deployed globally, even as push for the smart cities as well. So I think just by very smartly combining the benefits of, both these spectrums, I think we are really talking about the best user experience for, an end user that's actually connected to a 5G network.
Thanks, Vanitha. Coming to you, Mr. Nahata. What are some of the challenges that companies will face as they look to set up and roll out fixed wireless access networks?
Look, I don't see any major challenge, but however, there are some challenges. One, interoperability of the devices has to be there. If a FWA device is manufactured by one manufacturer, it has to interoperate with the base station of some other manufacturer. So interoperability is going to be an issue which has to be resolved. Second, pricing. As I said, the pricing is always a major issue, and pricing being, if it is competitive, usage of FWA would be much higher than what we expect today.
So interoperability and pricing, those will be the key factors that one has to keep in mind when rolling out FWA networks. Manoj, my next question is on security. How would you assess the security advantages or disadvantages of 5G-based FWA?
5G particularly pays a lot of emphasis on the security features, and they ensure the use of encryption and to basically have a very, very rugged security ecosystem built in. That's built in the CPE. It's built into the transaction by encrypting all the transactions and ensuring that the usage of usage by the end user continues, because more and more confidence they have in the security, the consumption is only going to jump. So 5G, like I said, has huge emphasis when the standards were done on the security aspects, and that kind of continues when we go into the 6G era.
Well, that's all the time we have for you in this show today. A big thank you to all our guests for joining us on this special discussion. With that, it's a wrap on this show. Thank you for watching.